hills of Los Angeles, I'm and most Hollywood nights. She goes to California, oh, California.
What you say about Los Angeles?
LA got the people saying,
You're listening to Corner of the Galaxy on cornerofthegalaxy.com. It's time for another episode of Corner of the Galaxy from the Box, the show that gets you behind the scenes of the LA Galaxy and into the minds of soccer reporters and MLS experts. Your hosts for the day are Corner of the Galaxy's Josh Guesman and LA Times soccer reporter Kevin Baxter. Let's start the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Corner of the Galaxy from the Box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. I'm your host, Josh Guesman, coming to you on a Monday, December 15th. The LA Galaxy getting their first signing across the board. We're going to talk about the defender coming from Philadelphia here in just a couple minutes. We're going to talk about your CONCACAF Champions Cup draw, where the Galaxy are, how that sort of plays out, a little CBI talk that goes along with that. And then we're going to close it all out with what I would consider a really fun interview that we got to do with MLS Executive Vice President of Sporting and all sorts of bunch of things in his title, Nelson Rodriguez. So we have that interview coming up at the very end. So a lot of stuff to get to today, which is always nice in the offseason. Galaxy staying busy, we're staying busy, and of course, we're now joined by one of our favorites, everybody's favorite, really, the man who finally found the mute button on his computer. It is Mr. Kevin, the Panda Santa Baxter.
Yeah, there is no stopping me now. I found the mute button. I'm on my way to Silicon Valley to be a tech superstar. By the way, you know, we had so much technical problems last week. Now, they'll be back this week. It's just they haven't started yet.
Right.
But I didn't get to show you what I brought home from the World Cup draw. I got my everybody got one of these. It's my FIFA Peace Medal. See that?
That's good.
We all got one.
Just they had the boxes of Cracker Jacks out there, and everybody got that in their box of Cracker Jacks. Oh, man.
So I'm proudly wearing that.
Yeah,
we'll keep it on. I got my Panda ho shirt on.
You were good. I think at one point you might want to you're gonna gift out your presents to the LA Galaxy, right?
Yes, yeah. I have some things that I'd like to put under the tree for the Galaxy.
That's good. Let me tell everybody about some of the technical stuff we've been having, because if you're here, one is people who are here probably watch our show on YouTube and probably don't get affected by this podcast thing as much as everybody else. But we are having a massive issue with SoundCloud right now. SoundCloud is my host for all of my podcasts, and I don't know if you know how podcasts work. You can just ask Kevin; he knows all about RSS feeds.
You bet.
Yeah. Now that
I'll break it down for you.
And so basically, the RSS feed is propagating, but there's an error inside of it. So whenever it goes out to iTunes or Spotify or any of the other places, it all comes from SoundCloud. Well, the geniuses over at SoundCloud, of which I spend like $350 a year in order to host our stuff over there, they've decided they just don't want to call me back. And they don't want to write me back. They don't want to answer like text or DMs or anything like that. And so for a week now, I've been trying to figure it out. The side note of that is that for all intents and purposes, I'm trying to move us over to Spotify, which would then host us. And that means that we could do video on Spotify as well. But because the RSS feed is broken within SoundCloud right now, that's hard to transfer over. We have 1,035 shows that are based over on SoundCloud, and so trying to get those and make sure that those come over with us. And by the way, you only get like 500 because RSS feeds only handle 500. But trying to get those shows to come over, so that way we have this conglomeration of shows that shows what we've been doing for the last type of years, so that we could always go back. I'm just afraid that if I only transfer over like a certain amount of shows, Kevin, that everybody's gonna be like, well, I can't go back and do the 2014 MLS Cup. Like every once in a while, you want to go back and listen to those shows. At least I do. You go back and listen to those shows. So I'm trying to do all that.
I apologize that it's not working, and I am way more frustrated than you are the fact that you haven't been able to see the last couple of podcasts. So I've been trying like different tests and uploading podcasts. So if you see them pop up, they're just the same podcast being uploaded over and over again, trying to see if I can get the RSS feed through. Now, for people here on YouTube, you guys are fine. You don't have to worry about it. Everything's a-okay. But as for trying to listen to it on a podcast, I sincerely apologize. It is more frustrating than you could possibly imagine at one of my most busiest times of the year. So I am not thrilled to be spending time on all this stuff. So anyway, that's it.
Just so much of that I understood. You're frustrated. The rest of that it was Greek. It just went right over my cap here.
Yeah. By the way, Potamus is calling you Panda Claus, which is good. So that's good. That's good. Yeah, very nice. So so that's where we are now. As for the LA Galaxy, they seem to not be so confused. And so, in honor of the first signing of the year, we get to play not one, but two jingles. Are you ready? Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking news as the LA Galaxy have signed former MLS Defender of the Year, Jakob Glesnes from the Philadelphia Union. So we have that to talk about, but not only do we have that jingle, but we also have to play this very fun jingle. Because it is General Manager Will Kuntz who has put this deal in place. So the 31-year-old defender, Jakob Glesnes from the Philadelphia Union, joining the LA Galaxy for $1.1 million in general allocation money. Let's pause for a second and realize that his salary is also, or at least last year, was $1.1 million, Kevin. So this is already a $2.2 million deal in terms of the Galaxy have to absorb the $1.1 million that they have for his salary as it's coming over. And he's signed through 2027 with an option into 2028. So they have to absorb that, but then they also have to give $1.1 million over to Philadelphia. That is split between two payments, $500,000 in 2026, so this upcoming season, and then $600,000 in general allocation money in 2027. So those are sort of that basic one. Now, there's also a side note to this as well, where the LA Galaxy have picked up the homegrown priority for Jamir Johnson. He's a 2008. They always go birth year whenever they're talking about younger players. So 2008 from the Philadelphia Union. As well. And basically, they have the homegrown priority. He is coming over to the LA Galaxy, but basically, in order to have that homegrown priority, they would have to sign him to a first-team deal, Kevin. And as of right now, that doesn't seem to be, at least right away, in the cards. If eventually he does get there, then you are looking at the Galaxy being able to have his homegrown rights, basically, as he comes over, and then put him on the field as a winger. He's a U17 U.S. Youth National Team player. He's a winger, so he has some talent in there. Now, the other part of this, because if it hasn't been confusing enough, there's even more money that could possibly be changing hands. So we already talked about $1.1 million in general allocation money going from the LA Galaxy to the Philadelphia Union. We should also point out that there is an additional in $1.1 million in general allocation money if certain performance-based metrics are met by Glesnes or Johnson. And then Philadelphia will also retain a future sell-on trade percentage for Jamir Johnson. So those are sort of the boilerplate from the press release, all the information that we have here. I can share. Here's the only other thing I can share, Kevin. It's my understanding, just my understanding, that most of those performance metrics are not based on Glesnes' performance. It would be on Jamir Johnson's performance. And so if that's the case, then we can sort of say, okay, it's $1.1 million and probably a little bit more if you're looking at performance metrics for Glesnes, and then there's some significant upside on the Jamir Johnson side. Should he come in and should he have performance metrics, and should those pass, then the Galaxy would owe Philadelphia more money. But I do not want people adding the two 1.1 millions together and saying 2.2, because I already tried to do that and I was told pump the brakes on that a little bit. So, I certainly think that that Philadelphia is trying to make this feel like a really big deal. And so whenever they put out their press release, Kevin, guess what they do? They add up those numbers. Philadelphia Union have required up to $2.2 million from the LA Galaxy in exchange for center back Jakob Glesnes and academy prospect Jamir Johnson. So they're trying to make it sound like it's a big deal, and it's to my understanding that is is pumped down a little.
But it still is a big deal. The
Yeah.
Glesnes alone, if you look at the 1.1, right, that went to in TAM money that went to Philadelphia, then you've got him for 2 years, maybe 3 at 1.1. So it's over $4 million already. And then so what I start looking at is, yeah, he's going to be a valuable acquisition. Obviously, at that money, they expect him to start. So what does that mean for the rest of the roster? We were told by Greg Vanney the roster would not look at the end of the season would not look that way at the start of next season. So here's the first big move.
Right.
Okay, so what are the other dominoes that fall? Well, I think probably Maya Yoshida would not come back. We've heard a lot of talk about him thinking about going to Japan. We'll see, right.
It could be Zonka not coming back too. I think either of those is a possibility.
So another center back we can assume will not be back. Also, I think this is the end, not that it wasn't before, but any hope that Diego Fagundes would come back, unless he just gets no other offers and comes back to the Galaxy at a really cut rate price, I think we can probably close the book on Diego Fagundes, unfortunately, as well, because I don't see them paying Glesnes $1.1 million and still having room for Diego Fagundes at any kind of salary.
Yeah, I mean, I think that looking at $1.1 million for Diego Fagundes and him going away and $1.1 million for Glesnes, I think that's the theme of today's show is going to be $1.1 million. I'm just want to warn everybody ahead of time. So that's every answer is going to be $1.1 million for everything, because I actually went and looked, and my contention, I think, is the same as yours, that now all of a sudden you have 4 starting center backs. And I'm gonna say that I think that there are 4 starting center backs. I think Zonka was brought in to be a starting center back. I think that Maya Yoshida is a starting center back. I think that Glesnes is going to be a center back, and then you have Amiro Garces, who is a starting center back. So that's 4 starting center backs, in my opinion. Now you can say, oh well, Yoshida's going to drop down and be a backup. Sure, could. Absolutely. But on his salary, I don't know that makes a whole bunch of sense. Are you going to Zonka? Are you going to say that with his salary, he shouldn't be a starting center back? Because if you add Yoshida and Zonka's salary together, guess what number you get? $1.1 million.
$1.1 million.
There you go. Okay. So that is everything. So now you have between 3 center backs, between Glesnes, between Yoshida, and between Zonka, you have $2.2 million in salary that you have to pay out. So something there is going to give. There's flexibility in knowing that something is going to go. There are rumors that Maya Yoshida could be going to Japan, so I agree that at least we've seen that. I would still suggest that Maya Yoshida is an important part in terms of the captains, in terms of the captaincy, and because of that, I think that he is. I would think he would try to move Zonka first, but I also think it's harder to move Zonka than it would be to move Maya Yoshida.
Well, and you can't. I think that's the way the tea leaves read, that someone's going to go. But Greg Vanney did talk about the need for a lot of depth on the back line. They're going to play a lot of games this year. He wanted a lot of depth. They gave up 66, 67 goals last year. I think he sees the back line as being an integral part of their success going forward. So, I mean, they could stay with those 4. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to that, if they can make the salary work. And some of the people, we've been hearing some things about what people in Philadelphia are saying. Some of the fans are saying, good riddance, he wasn't playing well. He's old. He's 31. A center back at 31, that's spring chicken, years.
Right.
That is not old. And he's only signed for 2 more years and an option. Yeah. So 34, could he be a starting center back at 34? Absolutely. A lot of guys are starting center backs at 34. Maya Yoshida had a great year and he was 36. So yes, he's not old. He's not over the hill. He's in his prime, if anything. And when you look at the numbers that you just put up there, how many minutes he's played, how many games he started.
This guy doesn't miss games, Kevin. Like that's all I'm seeing here.
There's no need to think that he's sort of fallen off a cliff. He was defender of the year 3 years ago now, but he just forgot all about that. He just forgot how to play.
Yeah. I mean that's sort of the thing. I mean, you correctly pointed out. I was looking at these real quick, and I'm like, 19 games in 2020, his first year. I'm like, oh wait, they only played 22 games in 2020 because of COVID, right? So it was a 22 game season. Otherwise, 34 out of 34, 34 out of 34. 31 out of 34, 32 out of 34, 31 out of 34. The guy just played 2,626 minutes. And, I think that he could be a good addition. And by the way, is Rindolph, somebody in the chat room says, is Rindolph still there? Yeah, Rindolph is still there. Excuse me, Rindolph. Rindolph is still there. because they brought him in. So I see, to me, I'm like, he's the backup right now, right? That's what I see. But also with Amiro Garces sort of being the wild card, you need more stability from him this year. But if you're not getting that, Chris Rindolph might very well be the second defender next to whoever is going to be the starter. In my opinion, if you get Glesnes, you are bringing him in to be a starter. So he is starting. So now if we can lay out anything, we're sort of like, hey, Glesnes is CB1, right? The center back number 1. Who's going to be on the other side? I would theory to say that it is Garces. And then you could look at keeping one of Yoshida or Zonka for one more year. And then you also have Rindolph. I think that rounds out a pretty good center back group that you can do. That also gives them a chance to go to the three in the back if they want to do that as well. So I think this gives Greg Vanney a lot of options. I'll be honest. I had a couple conversations, Kevin. I said, hey, it's getting pretty crowded in there, right? At center back all of a sudden. And by the way, you get like one more guy, right? And you're sort of like, oh, now it's crowded. Before you didn't have enough and now it's crowded. I said it's getting pretty crowded in there, just in salary-wise, the whole deal. And I'll say two things were sort of said. One is we're not done. That's basically what the note that came back. We're not done, and there's lots of things that could still happen. Lots of moves to be made. We'll see how everything shakes out. But also, there needs to be competition, and this was spelled out. There needs to be competition at every single position. We want to be deep. We want to be competitive. And if we want to win trophies, which is what we want to do, then we need to be competitive. And so I think that's all interesting takes. I just expect that they're going to be one less center back whenever this season starts.
Well, when I look at this critically, and you're right, they're not done yet. They need a striker badly.
Yes.
Greg says 2, Will says 1, but somebody is going to come and play striker. They've talked about improving the depth in the midfield. We've seen when Marco Royce couldn't play how they suffered in the midfield. Yes, I know Ricky's coming back, but again, playing a ton of games, they're going to need some depth everywhere, and midfielders run a lot. You're going to need some depth there. The one thing I look at this though, and he is 34, he is 31. Mickey Yamani was 31 when he came over, and no one talked about him being an old man. But when I look at how Will has tried to build this team, Will Kuntz, he's got Gabriel Peck and Joseph Paintsill, young players, the heart of the team, is Ricky Puig. He's very young. On the outside, you have Aude in goal, Mikovic, and all of a sudden you bring in a 31-year-old center back. Well, I thought that the idea that Will Kuntz was building this young core to go forward together over a number of years. That's still true. So why are you bringing in a 31-year-old center back? Well, I look at a couple of things. Well, he can help the team now, and I think Will Kuntz feels a little pressure after last season to win now, not to come in and build up and win in 2 or 3 years and slowly progress. I think there's some pressure that Will Kuntz needs to win right now this year. So that's part of it. When the other part of it is, center back is a different position. It's a position where you want experience, you want maturity, you want age, you want a guy who's been around. And so you can go and get a 22-year or 23-year-old midfielder. You can play Cuevas and Cerrillo in there. But on the back line, you want someone that's been around and done that. And I think he found out a lot of success with Yoshida. And, maybe with Glesnes, he's trying to sort of copy that. An older guy, but a mature guy, a seasoned guy, a solid guy who's going to bring some depth and maturity back in the back line.
Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that. I think that's where it is. And by the way, Glesnes, to my understanding, has a green card as well. Doesn't count as an international slot. So that's a good thing for the LA Galaxy. That also sort of, I think somebody in the chat room says that gives you like a 20% discount whenever you don't need to buy an international slot as well, right? So that's something that I think goes pretty well for the LA Galaxy. The other thing is, I think Will has sort of likes these guys from the East Coast teams, right? I think that should be pointed out, and I think that they have a certain grit to them. And obviously, you're talking about, a Norwegian here for Glesnes, and you would say, oh, well, that's not really like an East Coast team, coming that type of thing. But I think having played in Philly, having known the style of soccer that they play, I think that he's a good fit for that. So, good. I think this is it's a big splash. It's a move that is going to shake some things around. It's not as going to be as much money as Philly says, and it's probably not as cheap as the LA Galaxy say. It's probably somewhere in between those two whenever you look at it. But like you said, this is like a 2 or 3 year deal. You're getting a former MLS Defender of the Year. You're getting a guy who has playoff experience. I love watching highlights of defenders and watching them just score bangers of goals, all the deal. And Glesnes can do that from distance, as we've seen as well. But I think you're going to get a guy who's good with his feet, who can play the ball that Greg Vanney wants to play, which is being able to build out. And the center backs are always so important for that. I mean, usually, unless Ricky Puig is on the field, Kevin, it's usually one of the center backs that has either the first or second most touches on the field. So that's something to sort of look at. And again, the Galaxy are getting a huge bonus in the center of that field already, with Ricky Puig coming back and sort of being there. So this is going to be a new look LA Galaxy, especially whenever we hit, sort of the preseason and sort of get to look at what's going to happen with that. But I'm interested to see how all the pieces fit. I'll say this again, was told straight up, not done, plenty of stuff to do. So I think you're right. The striker position now is one of the biggest ones. There's been some shouts now multiple times that the LA Galaxy are in on goalkeepers as well. Dane St. Clair was one of them, perhaps, they're looking at. I think Horvath is one that perhaps the LA Galaxy are also interested in. There's other people interested in both of those guys, but to me that says they're not satisfied with the goalkeeping situation where it's at, and so they still need to do something with that. What that means for Mitrovic, or what that means for JT Marcinkowski, or whoever else they bring in, it seems like the Galaxy are still on the hunt. There was, at least in preseason or right after the season, or as the season was ending, this idea, Kevin, that the Galaxy were going to try to strengthen the spine. So if we look at sort of what, if that's correct and what they're saying, Glesnes strengthens the spine in the center back. Okay, good. What's another position they're going to have? Possibly goalkeeper. Goalkeeper strengthens that spine, right? Where else? I still think you're going to find a midfielder, a central midfielder that's going to come in, maybe not a starter, but a veteran guy who is more in their prime, been around the league, able to help Ricky take on some of the miles that he's going to have to log on his surgically repaired, leg and all that. So I think that's there. And then we're still talking about a striker as well. All of those along the spine. I think all the other positions are sort of metered out at the current moment, but there's going to be some more movement here as we get forward.
Well, and I think going into the offseason, correct me if I'm wrong, but what I was hearing from Will Kuntz is like, we brought all these guys back. This is our team. We brought these guys back. Greg Vanney was saying, not so quick. We're going to make some changes. This is not the roster. There'll be some changes. But it felt like, yeah, we're going after one or two big guys, and after that there'll be some cosmetic changes, a little depth. That's kind of the impression I got. Cup, we're going to add someone big up front, and then we're going to fill in for depth everywhere else. But in talking to some of the player development people, they are working overtime here in the holiday season. They're going 20 hours a day. They've got irons in the fire all over the place. They seem to think that this is saying a major remake is too strong, but nothing's off the table. If they all of a sudden a great goalkeeper falls in their lap, as you said, they're going to take them. If it's a winger, they're going to take them. It's sort of best available, and we'll figure out where they play when we get them here.
I think there's some of that. I think that Glesnes is absolutely a style system center back that they want, right? The guy who they think can play the way that they want to play. I don't think they're going outside the box to grab him just because of this. They targeted him. They wanted him. They put the deal together. This is not a guy who was a free agent or anything like that. This is a deal where they're like, this is a guy we want. We're going to go see if we can make a deal with Philadelphia. To me, that sounds like we are picking you for specific reasons. We have belief in your game, and we believe it translates to our game. Remember, this is a Galaxy team that towards the end of it actually looked okay. So now you're starting to tweak things, right? And you're starting to move some things around. It was clear that they needed more help in defense. I still think that if the offense gets going better and the LA Galaxy have a little bit more confidence in that offense, and I think Ricky Puig certainly helps that, I think that helps the defense improve as well. So, can you get the defense to give up 17 less goals again? Maybe with the proper offense, just like that. But whenever you put Glesnes in there as well, I think he can be a good thing. So, this is the first thing. We're going to find out, right? We do this every year. This is 18 years I've been talking about this LA Galaxy in preseason, and it's always exciting whenever you see a new player come in. There are Philadelphia fans, as you pointed out, that were like, glad he's gone. He was drifting off. He was coming down. Everything was going sideways, the whole deal. And there are Philadelphia fans who are like, oh man, I can't believe we lost him. So especially with defenders, I think it's harder. Most people aren't like, oh man, I love those defenders. Defenders have a hard time getting the love that people get. So they're, you can find another defender. It's Major League Soccer. You can always find another defender. I would hope that this is a major upgrade. I also believe that Zonka was going to be a good addition to this defense as well. I was incorrect about that. I actually think that if Zonka stays, he'll probably be a lot better this year, and people will be surprised. But I certainly understand after seeing the way that he played last year why you would say that, and why you would be concerned about that. The Galaxy's defense was poor last year.
You know, one thing I always find interesting in trades in every sport, and unlike a transfer or free agent signing where you have a choice of a number of different teams and you pick that team and you're happy to be there. A lot of guys, when they get traded, they look back at the team that they were with and say, what did I do wrong? Why don't you like me anymore? Or why don't I fit? You know, what happened? And the other part of that is, hey, somebody wanted you. And I think what you talked about, that the Galaxy put this deal together and spent a lot. You know, I think they can go to Glesnes and say, look how much we really wanted you. Look how you fit in. Look, you know, our coach is a two-time World Cup defender. He knows how to do this. He knows how to play your position, and he loves you, and he wants you to be here. I don't know that they need to sell that. But you know, if they did, I think you can definitely make the case that, no, it's not that you were unwanted. It's that you were really, really desired, and we really wanted you to be here. And, you know, you talk about putting this team together. The season starts much earlier this year with CONCACAF Champions Cup. It's in years past, the Galaxy have sort of unwittingly, I don't think they wanted to do this, but sort of eased into the season. And the first, 6-8 weeks, they were kind of putting things together. They don't have the benefit of doing that this year, and we're running out of time. I think they're going to be in camp in less than 3 weeks, or right about 3 weeks. They're going to start training camp. So, and they need their whole team here. Isn't
that crazy? I was talking to some of the PR people at the Galaxy today to get some clarifications on some different things that were sort of happening in the future. And I'm like, I want to say Happy New Year, because it feels like we're already past Christmas and it's the new year and the season's about to start. And we're sort of like, yeah, it almost is the new season. So like we're right there. We're on the precipice of returning.
It is Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah
to those
to
who
you.
Celebrate. It is, yes.
So anyway, I wanted to point out, you talked about Fagundes as well. There was reporting today that sort of came out and said that the LA Galaxy hadn't contacted Diego Fagundes, even though it said we were in continued talks with him whenever they did the press release. When there were exit interviews, and on this podcast, we told you that at that time, even at the exit interviews, that the Galaxy had not made any contact. And there was unlikely it was going to happen. And just to go back, you were correct in saying it's going to be really difficult for Diego Fagundes to come back to this club just because of the money thing, right? And I think that now you see Glesnes at 1.1, you're like, okay, understood. That's sort of where they decided to put that money. No coincidence that the 1.1 for Fagundes' salary, or 1.3 for Fagundes, and now Glesnes right around 1.1 in that same area. So that type of thing. But nothing has changed there. I think if the only way Diego Fagundes gets to return to this club now is if he goes out and tests free agency and doesn't find anything he likes, and he wants to come back to California, and he's like, yeah, I'll play for $300,000 or $350,000, which, by the way, for a guy who was making 1.3 to take $1 million haircut, maybe you just retire, at that point too. But I think that is the only way that happens. I think we've been pretty clear on that from the beginning, and that separation that happened, that basically it was like, hey, go out and test free agency. We want you to find a place that you fit, and we do not want to give you this number because it probably wouldn't be respectful to you. So nothing has changed on that front. I don't, despite reporting today coming out that says, well, they haven't talked to him. Yeah, we knew that. We knew that at exit interviews, and I think we communicated that well on the show. So that's the one of the things that we also are looking at there. So again, just sort of this is the business side of things. And it's way different than I think how fans and supporters sort of look at players. The business side of things is really tough. And I was thinking about this in the shower this morning, which is always a good time to do your thinking.
Wow. Yeah. Wow, talk about too much information.
I know you want to think about it. I was washing the 3 hairs I still have on the top of my head. And I was like, when you look at having, whenever you have a guy like Peter Vermees, who was everything, or Bruce Arena, who's like the everything guy, right? He's the guy who's the coach, who's making the decisions on the field and doing all that stuff, but he's also the guy who's doing contracts and everything else that sort of comes in there, right? That's a really tough position to be in, because if you're Greg Vanney and you're talking to Diego Fagundes, you're like, hey man, I really want you back. You were great this year. Hey, the press voted you player of the year, and I know why, because, you're such a great guy, and the press are so smart. I'm pretending that Greg Vanney likes us. And the press are so smart, and all this stuff, and, they got it right, and you were awesome, and I want you back. But, man, Will says I don't have the money. So, I hope that we can work something out and that you can come back. I want you back, the whole deal. And then Will gets to say, hey, Diego, you're awesome. The press was right. Again, I'm pretending Will likes us. The press was right. You are player of the year, the whole deal. But like the number I could give you is going to be low and it's probably not a good number. I want you to go out into free agency. I want you to test and do the whole thing. It's almost like there can be a bad guy for each, I know Greg wants you back and, hey, if we can work something out, it would work this way. But it's better sometimes to have the separation between the two because you can play good cop, bad cop. You can do all the stuff that you need to do, which is sort of like, hey, I know Greg wants you back, but we don't got the money, man. I'm sorry. That's just the way it is, and you're going to have to go. And so having that lets the coach be on the player's side or be on their team cheering for them and doing stuff and doesn't have to get mixed up into contract stuff. Even if there is contract stuff, like say during the season, because there's contract stuff that happens during the season that you have to work out, that you have to figure out while you're still in the games. The whole deal, coach would be like, hey man, I know we're going through contract stuff. That's on Will and he's got to figure that out. But you right now, I'm on your team. And I just thought that it was good to have that separation.
But you know what? I mean, yes, Bruce is still in the league, but when he was with the Galaxy, it was a different league. I think we can admit. TAM money wasn't that big a deal. The third DP, had just come in, but as far as general allocation money, all that kind of stuff, young DPs didn't exist then. But the point I was going to make is I think players understand this is a business, and I think if you talk to Diego, he probably knew that at the end of the year, it was going to be tough for him to come back. Players know it's a business, and players know how it works. What they don't want is for you to mess with them. Just be straight with them, and that's why Bruce. So many players, like you talk about Mike McGee and all these guys that hung around Bruce and came back to play for Bruce. They loved playing for Bruce because he was straight. When Sean Franklin was here, they had won an MLS Cup and they couldn't afford to keep him. And Bruce went to Sean and said, "Look, we can't keep you. Where do you want to go?" And he said Washington, and that's where we went. He went to Marcelo Sarvas, the same thing. We cannot keep you. We need to get rid of you, but we want to take care of you. Where do you want to go? Remember when Mike McGee, when they needed the spot to sign Robbie Rogers, and they needed to negotiate with Chicago Fire to get the rights to Robbie Rogers. They asked Mike McGee, would you like to go back home again? They didn't say, we're going to trade you to Real Salt Lake and just go freeze your butt off, and we don't care what happens to you. Where do you want to go? You're at a point in your career, Mike McGee, where you can pick where you want to go. Where would you like to go? And I think that's why so many players were loyal to Bruce. And there's an art to that. And I think maybe Will is learning that as he talks to players and say, where would you like to go? Not just we have leverage over you, we own your rights, and we're going to do what we want to make our team better. That's part of it. But can you do it in a humane way that makes the players feel they were part of the process? So maybe at some point they come back or they tell their friends, hey, the Galaxy's a place to go. That's where you want to be.
Yeah, it absolutely can. And I think I just thought that was a nice benefit that, maybe you didn't have before. Somebody also asked me, like, how come Miami isn't going to get hit with all these penalties for, bonuses and everything else? One, they will. Two is the Galaxy were not, and I say this with all due respect to everybody, but the Galaxy were not a well-managed team before Will Kuntz got here, and the contract situation was getting out of control as it started to flow into that. Just with all the changes, front office, Greg Vanney taking over, doing all the stuff, trying to get all that stuff to line up. You need somebody with this cohesive one thought all the way through that takes an idea and an understanding not just of this year, and the Galaxy were in some panic mode situations where they were like, we have to win now, otherwise we're going to be in total trouble. And then what happens when you don't win now is then you have contract issues the next year, and then you get worse, not better, right? And so getting caught cheating, that whole thing, that all sort of stacks up and does everything. Look at Miami, got caught cheating. Look at what they've done since in terms of how they've been able to manage different things. There's another side to the Miami situation, which is everybody takes a pay cut to come play with Messi, and they're getting some good deals, and they will continue to get good deals, and good for them, right? Whenever you have somebody like that, that's the advantage that you want to see. But yeah, the reason that those MLS Cup bonuses hit so hard and the Galaxy had to move people. I just saw somebody commented on our last show on YouTube, Kevin. They were sort of like, hey, Miami's doing all these things and getting all this stuff done. And I'm like, yeah, they've been managed very well recently. And so that helps. That's how you get sustainability. That's how you can go and you can reload and you don't put yourself in horrible situations whenever you do have success. And there are options triggered and everything else. I'll also say that, Miami got to shed 2 rather good salaries there. And so they were able to go out and replace pretty quickly while shedding those salaries and doing all that, and probably replace maybe even at a lower number. So There's little things that they're able to do. Now the Galaxy have to be in that sustainability. Now the Galaxy have to be stacking this up and looking forward and doing all the things. It's not just about what happened last year. It's trying to take 2024, which was everything lines up. You throw all your cards on the table. You throw all your chips in in the middle because you go out and you get different players. You bring stuff in. You get Marco Reus who comes in, and now you're like, oh, okay, this is all happening now, right? We are going for it. And if they didn't win that, imagine the Galaxy didn't win a 2024 MLS Cup, and then they had a 2025 season, because they would have been similar. And you may have gotten to keep one extra guy, maybe, but it would have been similar. That the fact was that the salary cap was going to be tight, that you were going to have to move people, even without the huge MLS Cup bonuses that sort of threw everything away. It's just about managing the cap better. And I think now, under Will and the front office that they have there, I think you're going to see some of that. So that's my take on it.
I think another thing that's important in MLS, and most of the good teams have a guy, a numbers maven, a guy that you go to him as the general manager, you say, here's our vision. And we got 10 pounds of stuff we need to fit in this 5-pound salary bag because we got to get under the cap. How can we make this work? And they know all sort of the little tricks and ways that you can move salary around. And I think guys like that are important. I think Will has a very good sense of, he worked for the league when they were negotiating some of the collective bargaining agreements. I think he knows how this works, and I think that's why he's been successful. John Thornton, the same thing. He was on the union side in those negotiations. They kind of know where some of the off ramps and some of the hidden passageways are. I think that's really important because it is so Byzantine, the MLS salary structures. It's so hard to figure out where you can steal some money and where you can steal a spot, or where you can move a guy into a designated player or a young DP spot. And that helps too. You have the vision, but then you have to make the vision work. And a lot of times the math doesn't add up. You got to find a guy that can make the math add up, just like my tax guy.
Yeah, 2 + 2 is whatever you want it to be, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
You tell me, the whole deal. So no, that's sort of sitting there on salary cap and on the other things. The other thing we wanted to touch on before we get to what I thought was a really fun interview with Nelson Rodriguez from MLS Soccer.
And how many of your other MLS podcasts here in Southern California bring you
Nelson Rodriguez,
top-ranking MLS executives?
Yeah.
I mean, we went right to the top, and Don Garber said no, but how about Nelson? And then we got Nelson.
That's
how that works.
And you know what? Nelson is awesome. So I'm a big fan of Nelson Rodriguez. So we'll certainly. But before we get to that, we want to talk about CONCACAF Champions Cup and the draw that did happen. The LA Galaxy did get drawn into that Pot A. Remember, there's Pot A and Pot B. If you were there for the draw for the CONCACAF Champions Cup, it was only slightly less cringy than the one for World Cup on all that. But we
have
made
you
it
seen
through.
my medal?
Yeah, I know. I was waiting for CONCACAF's Peace Prize to come out at this one. So the LA Galaxy do get put into those slots. They now know that they will be playing Sporting San Miguelito from Panama. And they are currently ranked, I believe, number 63 in CONCACAF. The LA Galaxy ranked number 18. So that first one, now the travel isn't perfect. It's not great. It's not exactly what you want, but it is still a pretty good draw. The Galaxy will be heading down to play Panama, to play San Miguelito in Panama. So that game is locked in, and it puts them on a draw and on a collision course with Mount Pleasant from Jamaica after this. So should the LA Galaxy, home and home, be victors over Sporting San Miguelito, which we fully expect they will, it will then put the LA Galaxy on a collision course with Mount Pleasant in Jamaica. If they make it through that, a quarterfinal would be in the bracket above them would be Pumas is in that versus San Diego FC. Whoever advances through that plays Toluca. The winner of that would then play the LA Galaxy should they get through. So the Galaxy have a possible quarterfinal matchup between Toluca, San Diego, and Pumas. Okay, that is it. That's where it goes. That also means that should the LA Galaxy make it to the semifinals, that you will get an El Tráfico in the semifinals of the CONCACAF Champions Cup, because LAFC playing against Real España and then Alajuelense would then advance and then have to play one of the big teams in this one are Monterrey or Cruz Azul on that side. So again, I think the Galaxy get a pretty good draw in terms of what they're looking for. I would expect that this LA Galaxy team easily makes it to the quarterfinals. That is the expectation of where they are looking at. Depending on who they draw, depending on timing and a whole bunch of things, we can certainly reevaluate what the quarterfinals does, but I don't think a semifinal touch is completely out of order here. But the big games will come whenever the Galaxy reach the quarterfinals, which, again, we expect them to do, playing a Panamanian team and then playing a Jamaican team. And I believe the Jamaican team is only ranked slightly higher than the Panamanian team, who's 63. I believe Mount Pleasant was like 50-something. So these are good draws for the LA Galaxy in the CONCACAF Cup. Champions Cup, CONCACAF Champions Cup, CCC. I can say it. I'll try.
Yeah, and don't count your El Tráficos before they happen. Look at that bottom bracket. I mean, Vancouver, Cruz Azul, Monterrey. I mean, there's no guarantee LAFC makes it through. Those are some big trees.
It's Vancouver FC, which is not the same as the Whitecaps, right?
It's
the other
okay.
Vancouver.
That makes a big difference.
It does. That certainly helps.
But you still have Cruz Azul and Monterrey.
You still have Cruz Azul and Monterrey, correct. Let's see. In CONCACAF Champions Cup, the schedule then is the LA Galaxy traveling down to Panama February 19th at 5 p.m. Estadio Universitario, according to the graphic. We'll see if that holds up. I was seeing some questions about that. Second leg, of course, will be on February 25th at 8 p.m. I believe the pre-sale for that went on sale today, so you have a chance of that. I heard that some season ticket members may have that in their packages, so that could be that. Make sure you check. But otherwise, you can get tickets for that. Dignity Health Sports Park, February 25th at 8 p.m. That is your lineup. Now, Kevin, the reason that everybody was really watching the draw, or at least I was because we were trying to see whether the LA Galaxy would make it to Coachella Valley Invitational.
And the answer is...
They did.
Yes.
Everybody's really excited about this, by the way. If you talk to anybody in the LA Galaxy, they're excited that they go back to Coachella. It's really important. Obviously, an AEG and Golden Voice production there, so it's within the family whenever this happens. And so to have the LA Galaxy there, one is CVI is very excited about it as well because the Galaxy are one of the big draws. You're going to get San Diego, LAFC, the LA Galaxy are the big draws for these Coachella Valley Invitational. So that means the Galaxy are back at the 2026 Coachella Valley Invitational, and you can get your tickets at CoachellaValleyInvitational.com. We will let you know. Should we be asked to participate in anything? Nobody said anything, and it's totally up to them. I mean, Kevin looks weird, and he's got a Santa hat on. I don't know. They'll let him back. You never know.
I would not wear that in the desert. Although I might right now because it's probably pretty cold.
It's pretty chilly. I've been cold all day, Kevin. All day I've been cold. I've been trying to get warm. I've had my jacket and I've been like putting it on my... I'm getting old. We know this, but I'm getting old. So that's what's going on across the world, but mostly just that I'm getting old and I continue to go that way. So we'll certainly...
But we found out you take showers. So this has been a big day in the Josh Guesman information department.
Yep, absolutely. It is. Big news in terms of this weekend. If you want to come down for train rides, I'm going to say this is it. This is Santa Claus is coming. The North Pole Express is running. I've been at the train club all weekend this last weekend prepping stuff, and I will be there, I'm sure, multiple nights this week in order to get it. So come on out. It is free. Your donations are always appreciated, but Santa Claus, Mrs. Claus will be there. The Grinch will be there as well. The Grinch takes over from 12 to 1 while Santa feeds his reindeer. And so we will have you at the North Pole. It is a fun time. If you have kids, bring them on out. Bring your patience with you, as always, with any holiday event. I don't know if you've been out and about in any of the holiday events here, Kevin. We've been hitting the trifecta of like all of them because Jake is super into Christmas and going to all the things. So, but it's crowded out there.
Me and the missus were culture vultures, as you know. We went to the theater twice this weekend, but Cosmo is going to be there at the train ride, right?
No, he's not. No.
Oh, okay.
No,
Do you guys give candy canes away?
Sometimes Santa gives away candy canes. Yep, absolutely.
See, I think Cosmo should come out there. And by the way, is Cosmo... One thing I never understood about Cosmo is he's stranded here, or is he like E.T.? Is he trying to get back home? What do we know about Cosmo and his family situation?
We know Cosmo likes car chases and tacos and soccer. That is all you need to know about Cosmo. Any other questions? Just asking for trouble. I'm just saying. I think he's happy. He looks happy. Anyway.
He should be at the train club though.
Why?
I think we should start that.
He doesn't need. He's plenty busy. If he want, no. We have plenty of stuff. There's lots of other things going on that day. It is a crazy day. But please come on down. We'd love to have you.
You know who else is going to be there? Jakob Glesnes.
No, he's not. Definitely not. He's not going to be there. The address, it's at Fairview Park in Costa Mesa. I will give you the web address. It's ocmetrains.org. ocmetrains.org. And you can find all your information there. All right. Awesome. Let's get now to our wonderful talk that we had with Nelson Rodriguez. A lot of fun, a lot of good times. So sit back and relax. We'll catch you on the back side of this. This was recorded early on a Saturday morning. You can tell because Kevin is barely awake for all this. But here was our little conversation with Nelson Rodriguez. All right, joining us on the phone now for the very first time is Major League Soccer Executive Vice President of Sporting Product and Competition, Nelson Rodriguez. Nelson, thanks for coming on Corner of the Galaxy. We certainly appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate the opportunity to chat.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to ask just to start, have things in your world calmed down a little bit now that you finally got through the schedule change vote and sort of the craziness I have to imagine that was surrounding that?
A couple things, Josh. First, it really wasn't crazy. It was pretty orderly, but it has not calmed down. We've remained very busy. There's the off season's very small in Major League Soccer.
Yeah, it feels like that. It always feels like the next move and everything else that is happening is just one step away.
You were at the MLS. You were at MLS Next this last week, correct?
I was. What a fantastic event. I really encourage people who want to see up-and-coming talent and see the depth of the sport at a competitive youth level to attend any MLS Next event. The complex in Arizona was magnificent. The weather was great. Truly a spectacular event for us and for those who attended.
So I guess what I remember from you, Nelson, you and I have a little bit of we go back a ways. We've known each other for a while. I remember when you were in Chicago, I came out to see you there. But I think what you remembered most for here in Southern California was you were the last president, Chivas USA. The league brought you out here not to get the team to the playoffs, but to sort of wind everything down and it sort of administer the last rights to that franchise, and you did a great job of that. But when you look back at where LA was then, I mean, the Galaxy were pretty good. That was in their string of the 3 MLS Cup titles in 4 years. But on the ruins of Chivas now, LAFC, the winningest team in MLS since 2018. The Galaxy last year were MLS champions. When you look at LA, I know it's sort of the provinces from you guys in New York, but when you look at LA, what do you see in this market? What makes it so good?
Well, first, Kevin, thanks for the kind words. The Chivas USA time period was one of the most challenging for me professionally, and when I first took the opportunity, it wasn't clear that we were shutting down the club. But LA is a remarkable market. It has sports, it has culture, it has the sense of community, it has great food, and I think people there know how to live and love life. Sports and arts are central to that experience, and what LAFC has done and how the Galaxy have maintained and in certain aspects responded just demonstrates the power of all the things that I mentioned. It's a fantastic place to live and a great sports market.
Nelson, obviously the big change and maybe not for a market like Los Angeles with the weather staying and I'll keep knock on wood as we say this, relatively stable throughout the year. We don't get the snow. We usually don't get ridiculous heat, although it certainly can be hot. I just wonder, looking at, and I've been talking to some people in the front office, obviously, but there was a real sort of admiration for what you were able to do with this schedule change in terms of holding all the teams together and sort of getting this over the line. I mean, I think at some point there may have been some question marks about it, but I mean, when you look back at this whole experience of trying to maybe and I don't know if it's even the right word, but move MLS on to the next phase and keep pushing forward. I mean, is there some understanding of how much that ball had to move down the field in order for you guys to get the schedule change?
This process took 2 years. We began in November of 23 and it took the 2 full years. And I appreciate, again, the kind words. There was a lot of people involved within MLS headquarters, but really the credit goes to the clubs, all 30. We embarked on a process that wanted to ensure alignment. And when we embarked on the process, it wasn't with an intended goal to shift the calendar. It was with the intention to give our ownership, the Board of Governors, all the information they needed to make a good decision, whatever that decision was. The process highlighted that there was no easy or clean answer, and it was going to require a phrase that I think people got sick of hearing from me: trade-offs. You couldn't fix one problem without maybe revealing another, and so people learned that whatever we decided was going to require trade-offs, even if we had decided to remain in the annual calendar. In the end, the decision was resounding in favor of the shift, and everyone is working hard now to ensure that when we do make the shift, it is successful.
And to that end, and I know probably not in specifics, but in generalities, I mean, there has to be some confidence, and you talk about trade-offs, but there has to be some confidence that you guys are doing this for the right reasons and that you'll find the right results. What is the big thing that sort of drives that confidence?
I think the three main benefits of this shift are: the first is the playoffs. Having the playoffs in May, having the playoffs without a FIFA window interrupting it is massive. Playoffs are a huge driver of media deals, and playoffs are a huge magnet for new fans. And what we believe is having April, the conclusion of the regular season, uninterrupted by a FIFA window, in good weather, leading into May, uninterrupted by a FIFA window with better weather, sets us up to showcase our talent and the vibrancy of our fans in an optimal environment. So we think that our playoffs and end of season will be awesome, and that will be reflected in the playoffs. The second is, for many years, and as MLS talent levels have increased and the depth has improved, although I acknowledge we have a ways to go, the summer transfer window is the world's largest. And I believe now that our clubs will be more active in July and August, more active both in selling and in acquiring the services of players. And I think the net result of that will be an improved player quality across MLS and improved economics, because I think we will be able to sell at a better price and to buy players, better players who aren't available to us in January. And those players who come into the league will participate in more of the league season, whereas players who come in now in August, by the time they get their visa situation set up, they're available for maybe a half dozen games. The other part of the player quality will lend itself to those teams that know they're in CONCACAF can now stock up in the summer window and have those players integrated for the CONCACAF Champions Cup in February and March. So that's a huge one. And then the last is perception of the league. I think we have some roster investment model announcements and improvements to make over time, and that will showcase a new MLS that pertains to the global rhythm of the game. I recognize there are 40 leagues around the world that still play in an annual calendar, but the main conversation of the sport is held on the rhythm of July and August through May, and we will now be in that rhythm. And I think the perception of the league will be enhanced as a result.
And just to follow up on that, and I think you hinted at it, but every time I talk to, whether it's executives or coaches or anything like that, we talk about the schedule change, and then the next sort of progression is, but what does MLS have to do next, and about rosters and about salary caps and stuff like that. Is that something you feel like ownership is on a train to improvement on?
We are. I mentioned we started the calendar project 2 years ago, and at the same time we initiated a parallel project about roster rules and roster regulations and the evolution of that. And I'm confident that by the time we move to the new calendar, we will have some new changes to our roster mechanisms. And I think the combination of the two will be super well received by our fans.
And there's more to come with this schedule change, correct? I mean, there's been a lot of talk about you may have to go to divisions away from the conference model. The way the teams play, the actual schedule of who plays who when, that's going to have to change a little bit. Is the anticipation that will be done before the new schedule goes into effect? Or are we going to have the first year with the new schedule, and then maybe after that comes some changes in the format of who plays who when and how you get to the playoffs?
I'm glad you asked, Kevin. It won't come after. It'll coincide.
Okay.
We will have a new competition format, changes to the regular season, changes to the playoffs are likely, and all of that will be introduced prior to, but aligned with, the start of the new MLS calendar, the 2027-28 MLS season. All of that will come together. And again, my expectation is our roster regulations will exhibit changes for that season as well. 2026 will look like 2025.
Can you give us any hint of what that may look like? Are you looking at 3 divisions? Are you looking at a single table? All of that?
What I will say, Kevin, is we reviewed somewhere between 6 and 10 different playoff formats and about a half dozen different regular season ideas. So there will be a change. We're excited by it, and we think it'll be really well received. And by the way, I should note that we did extensive fan research both on the calendar shift and on potential changes to our regular season and playoffs. And the fan input was critical to how we evolved our thinking and ultimately where we think we'll end up.
Nelson, if you look at the upcoming season, just with the 6-week break or roughly around 6-week break for World Cup, are we sort of almost simulating something that we're going to see at the winter time of the 27-28 season with the schedule change?
We are. We'll see it both in terms of how our summers will start to look, with the playoffs ending in late May and the new season beginning the middle of July, with the break recognizing those major intercontinental events that typically run middle of June to middle of July. And we'll also see it with MLS Cup being in the middle of December, the third weekend of December in 26. That will mirror how the regular season will go before we take a winter break. So I think it's a good precursor of what is to come.
Josh and I have given you, Nelson, Josh and I have given you your flowers in this interview, which are well deserved. I mean, you've accomplished some amazing things, and your history in the league, if you go back to what you did with Chivas USA, and then you went on to Chicago, in the people there in the executive suite in New York, I mean, you have this experience, on the club level. You have just a ton of experience as an executive in the league level. I ask all that because we know that Commissioner Garber's time with the league is coming. We're not quite sure exactly when he's going to decide to move on, but we know that that's coming. Are you interested in becoming the commissioner? Are you interested in succeeding Commissioner Garber, who's also done some really amazing things for the league?
Well, again, I appreciate the flowers, as you said, Kevin, and I'm sure there's a lot of warts there too. And so you're kind, or at least not yet have raised them. But I'll accept those warts and talk through those as well. I think the league has been incredibly fortunate to have Commissioner Garber, and he continues to be a very steady hand at the wheel, and was really instrumental in the vote to move the calendar shift. I'm being completely sincere. I believe that I think it's time for a new generation of leadership. When the commissioner decides to move aside, I don't necessarily think I'm part of that leadership, because I just sense that we need fresh, and we need different, and we need some new experiences to be brought in, and some new thinking to be brought in. I would love to remain a part of it if those who decided, or those who become the new leadership, I'd like to think I could lend some valuable assistance, but that would be their decision to make. I'm privileged to be in the role that I have now. I see it as a really important responsibility. I am working hard to make sure that we are listening to our fans, honoring our fans, and that we are really respectful of our clubs and the job that they have, and the importance of clubs to be able to find and express their own identity that mirrors the uniqueness of each community. So I'm privileged where I am, pleased to be a part of it, but also understand that we need to continue to evolve, and that probably means new and fresh.
We certainly appreciate that. Hey, Kevin, we'll let you go here as we wrap everything up. But Nelson, one is congratulations on all the work for the schedule change. I look forward to seeing how that goes. I understand the off season is short. We feel that as well, but hopefully you get to spend some time with the family for the holidays, and we certainly appreciate you coming on.
Thanks again, Nelson.
Guys. I appreciate it, and thanks for all you're doing. You're keeping the ball rolling. So thanks very much. Happy holidays to you and to all the fans.
All right, thanks, Nelson.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.
All right, there we go. Our fun interview with Nelson Rodriguez there. The funny thing, I want everybody behind the scenes. Kevin doesn't remember any of that because, well, he remembers it only from that, but he did not get to hear it the way that you guys just got to hear it. He couldn't hear any of that. So he just sat in silence for 17 minutes.
I watched it, and it really took me back. We were so young back then.
You woke up and you're like, I didn't know there was a 9 a.m. I know there's a 9
Yeah,
p.m.
I knew there was a 9 p.m. I never experienced the 1 in the morning. I didn't even know it was there.
Didn't even know it was there. No, it was awesome that the Nelson Rodriguez could come on. I really appreciate that. It was fun. It was good to do. And listen, I think, and you and I were sort of talking about this afterwards, you could... I think that there's going to be criticism that can come whenever we see what the schedule is. I think the criticism could start as early as watching an MLS Cup being played in the third weekend of December, which means what? That we would be there right about now, right? Because I'll tell you, it would be this next weekend where the MLS Cup is being played, right? And I think that could be disastrous depending on who is going to be in that position. Like if it's Toronto. Right? Let's say Toronto is an MLS Cup. Let's say even if you're in New York, didn't I see snow on the ground in New York or in DC not too long ago?
In DC, yeah, last weekend it was snowing. Not this a day ago, but like 10 days ago.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a whole bunch of stuff. But yeah, really excited, and thank you to Major League Soccer and everybody who was able to put that together for us. That's really cool. Getting into some super chats, and then we're going to wrap everything up. Gary, $5 super chat, rad pod, y'all. Thanks, Gary. We certainly appreciate you. Scott, by the way, one of my favorite people in the whole wide world. Scott, hope you're doing well. $5 super chat. Merry Christmas, everyone. Hope we get some nice gifts for the field, right? So that was something that we need to talk about, Kevin, is your gifts for the LA Galaxy. And then Lasso, $5 super chat. Evening, gents. Sorry I'm late. Is it for sure? Maya is out, hoping it was Zonka. So we don't know yet. We are speculating. Or maybe nobody. So we will certainly see how that goes. By the way, real quick shout out to one of my favorites, and we already talked about him for a little while, is Diego Fagundes. Great guy, really like him. Hope he comes back. Say hi to Diego, Kevin.
Hi, Diego.
There you go. Perfect. All right. So glad
Traveling the world with Dora the Explorer, right?
Yeah, where in the world? No, it's Carmen Sandiego. There was a Carmen Sandiego joke in there, and you passed it up for Dora the Explorer.
Oh.
This is why I'm old, but you're older than me. You should have made the
I'm
Carmen
way older,
Sandiego
yeah.
joke. That was where it was at.
Where's Waldo?
Yeah, somebody said MLS Cup, the orange ball. By the way, love me an orange ball game. I don't know how many people. Again, in Los Angeles, it's not going to matter. There's not going to be any orange ball games, but there will be some orange ball games around Major League Soccer. So let's watch that. But basically going back to it is that there can be some criticism when we watch how the schedule could change, where it goes, how it would happen. Having said that, I think we have to wait for it to happen before we can sort of give that criticism. So I'm certainly there. All right, Kevin, the floor is now yours. You are now ready and able to present your presents to the LA Galaxy for the Christmas of 2025.
Well, what I was going to say is these are the things that I thought should be under the Galaxy tree this Christmas, this holiday season. However, you told me earlier that we may, and maybe this is breaking news that you want to break now, we may have a pod next week, which would actually be closer to Christmas than this week. So maybe these gifts, maybe these are Hanukkah gifts, despite my Christmas finery. Maybe these gifts would be Hanukkah gifts for the Galaxy. For Joseph Paintzel and Gabriel Peck, I would like them to find under the holiday tree a mobile striker, someone that would maybe take some of those great crosses that they put into the box last year and actually redirect them into the goal. I'd like to see for those two guys to get that. For Ricky Puig, I'd like to see him come back with a strong knee and be as good as he was before he left. I know that's a question mark, but that's what I hope that he finds under his holiday tree. For Greg Vanney, I'd like Greg Vanney to get a consistent lineup. He didn't have one last year with so many injuries and so many combinations and guys playing well and guys not playing well, and he had to mix and match. So I'd like Greg Vanney to have a consistent lineup. For Will Kuntz, he's already made a big move today. I'd like to see Will Kuntz get more TAM money, maybe an extra DP spot, and a little bit of salary flexibility. I think that would be a really good gift for him. And Tom Braun, he also has already gotten his first holiday gift with the Galaxy being able to play in Coachella Valley. He's the money guy, so that's big for him. I'd like to see him get some more of those season ticket holders back, the guys that left, maybe have them come back. So that's the Hanukkah/holiday, Kwanzaa, whatever it is you celebrate.
Yes. Yeah, that was
gift ideas for the year.
That was good. Yeah, Tom Braun did get CVI, so that's already his stocking is full right now. What could I wish? I wish the LA Galaxy their Christmas present this year is flawless giveaway nights, right? Flawless giveaway nights.
That's right. That's a good one.
The
gift of giving.
That's right. That's right. Somebody in the chat room said, "Aren't you surprised at how little giveaways there are?" They did, I think, throttle back on the number of giveaways in terms of the nights they're having, but I will say they increased to make sure that every time they did give something away, they have 15,000 of them. So there's a trade-off there. You're going to have less, but you give away 15,000.
It's always better to give than to have a riot on ring night.
100%. More rings, more everything. That is it. So that is something that I could gift the LA Galaxy. Other things I'd gift the LA Galaxy is good luck on the Wi-Fi this year. You have 30,000 people all connecting to Wi-Fi. It's never. There's 6 people in my house, and then we all try to connect to Wi-Fi, and next thing you know, Kevin can't get on the voice call, right? So I wish them a happy holiday season with their new Wi-Fi that's coming in. I hope that
I can help them with that now that I'm a tech maven.
Now
I can come out and check some of the wires and stuff.
Let's see.
Cut the blue one, not the red one.
Yeah, by the way, executive producer Herb, $18 super chat. Herb, always appreciate you. Hope your holidays are wonderful. He said, "Hey Josh, hey Kevin, wow, what a guest." He was talking about Nelson Rodriguez, I would imagine.
No, I thought it was me.
No.
Okay.
That was fine. But he says, did I miss something about a live pod at the Train Club? No, I see, whenever I was in the chat room during the whole pre-recorded segment, we should pre-record segments more often. I was having a great time in the chat room. But I was talking with them, and I said, if I promise to have like a COG day at the Train Club where everybody can come ride the trains and do that, just like out, not a public day, a private day, where only for our COG LA Galaxy fan listeners. That's it. If I promise to do that, could they hit up the super chats, right? So that type of thing. So,
you know what? Why can't we do a remote pod from there? That would be cool.
Who wants to go to a train club and have a podcast, Kevin? No,
me.
You can just
remember when we had the COG miniature golf tournament. That was fun, but not a lot of people came out.
That was not true. We had like 20 people show up. That is way more than I would expect at a miniature golf club. And then you dressed up all goofy, right? So
like this?
Yeah.
Like this?
Yes, exactly. You dressed up, so you scared some people around. So the whole deal. By the way, we're trying to see what other gifts could I give the LA Galaxy? You know what? I wish this for the LA Galaxy. I wish this for every team in Major League Soccer. May your ball stands be mighty, right? I love me a ball stand, Kevin.
That's really, you're getting really close. Be careful.
Ball stands be mighty.
Enunciate clearly.
Yes. Your ball stand. I love a ball stand, and I swear to God, can somebody just get me one so I can put it back behind me here? So just once. I don't care if it's CONCACAF Champions Cup one. I know it's a lot. I realize I'm asking for a physical thing that is like large. It might even be heavy. I don't know. I've never touched them. I've never picked them up. But I want a ball stand, and then like for each pod, I could walk down the hallway and pick up the ball like the referees do at the whenever they walk out on the field, and then we could like set it down and then add another ball stand. We could have a lot of fun with it. So my what stand? That's what it was in the chat room. So yeah,
yes,
100%. That's it. I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday season. Right now I think we might be doing a Monday show, so I'm kind of in that direction right now. We'll see if that ends up happening. But I hope that everybody is enjoying these weekends, and please come down and visit us in Costa Mesa. Kevin's not going to be there because you can't get him out of the house. It's hard. He lives in Southern Oregon. So it's a long drive for him. Yeah,
yep.
It's a long drive for him. So that's what we got. All right, we will.
Ho.
Yeah, there are people who are like the real sickos in here. By the way, are like, I'll do a podcast at the Train Club. Those two groups don't clash. I'm telling you, it's a Mr. Provino knows what I'm talking about. Anyway, that's what I have. Anything else for you, sir, before we head on out of here?
Happy Hanukkah, and then we'll do Christmas next week.
Okay, sounds good. That's what we have. I will work on trying to fix this podcast and get this out to people. I still don't know why it's not working. It makes no sense to me. I will upload this one up. We'll see how it goes. It'll definitely be available on YouTube. You can go directly to SoundCloud to get it as well. I'm hoping this gets fixed like ASAP. Otherwise, I'm over to Spotify. In fact, I'm probably over to Spotify anyway, being I can't get anybody at SoundCloud to rip back. 15 plus years on SoundCloud and can't get anybody to like email me back.
Hey, I just thought of something.
Yes.
Taylor Swift famously gave out $100 or $200 million in bonuses to her dancers and truck. Where's our Christmas bonus?
It's in the mail, buddy. It's as always, it's in the mail.
Good.
Hope everybody has a great day. Again, thank you to Major League Soccer for getting Nelson connected with us. It was a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed that. And hopefully we'll have him on again. Now that it went so well, and we didn't ask any questions we weren't supposed to ask. I was joking around at some other stuff that like goes on with people sometimes. But like Kevin, if I ever walk up to you and be like, "Hey Kevin, you can ask any question you want, but don't ask about the purple elephants in Zimbabwe," right? And you're gonna be like, well, what's up with the purple elephants in Zimbabwe?
Yeah, that's what we were going to talk
about.
about.
Don't put it in my head.
When Garber sees how, we actually did start out with asking for Don Garber. When he sees how this thing blows up and how Nelson becomes a celebrity overnight, up. Garber's going to be on the horn going, "Hey guys, next time."
Do you want to find something really funny? I just saw an announcement. Don Garber will be on a podcast this week. It will not be ours. It will be with Landon Donovan and Tim Howard, however. So,
what are they? Just because those guys played a bunch of World Cups and stuff.
Like they just started podcasting last week. Now we got beef with Unfiltered Soccer. We didn't know we needed to have it, but now Landon and Tim, we have beef with you guys apparently. So we'll.
Have you seen my FIFA
That's
medal
right.
yet?
Wonderful. All right. If you're looking for Mr. Kevin the Panda Baxter, and why would you, on any of those social medias, please hit him up at kbaxter11 and then head over to latimes.com for all of his wonderful writing covering the wonderful world of soccer and everything else in between. latimes.com and at kbaxter11 for Mr. Kevin the Panda Baxter. Panda Claus, as he's known here in these parts. If you're looking for me on any social medias, at Galaxy Podcast, cornerofthegalaxy.com, and of course SoundCloud, Spotify, any of those places where you can find a podcast. Most of the time you can find our podcast. We'll work on it to make sure that continues to be the case, but I haven't seen it fixed yet. So that does it for Mr. Kevin the Panda Baxter. I am Josh Pato Guesman. You've been listening, you've been watching the Corner of the Galaxy from the box on cornerofthegalaxy.com. Have a great one, everybody.
You've been listening to the Corner of the Galaxy podcast on cornerofthegalaxy.com. You can follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at Galaxy Podcast. And be sure to check out and subscribe to iTunes, Stitcher, and Facebook by searching for Corner of the Galaxy. Fans, we thank you for listening. We ask that you be kind and courteous to your neighbors as you leave the podcast. We thank you for joining us and look forward to seeing you again. Until then, I'm Michael Araujo, and on behalf of the entire Corner of the Galaxy crew, goodbye, everybody.